Andrew supposedly has it when he comes up. So I would suggest, does anybody have the time?
7:15.
7:15. And since Andrew is secretary, and Andrew is here, he can note that it is 7:15. And I would move that we call this meeting to order and do a roll call when Andrew has the roll call.
Yeah, let
Andy.
Andrew get, situated here.
Yes.
I get full my listing, which is, in my case, it's mostly initials.
Right. And while Andrew is doing that, Gina, did you say you had printouts of all your stuff?
Just a minute, the boiled down version
Okay.
of the last 3 PC meetings.
I have one copy of everything you
Thank you.
sent me because
It's all on one sheet, but I only printed it.
Good, very nice.
Hey, that's good.
Hey,
Perfect.
nice big, bold,
Actually, that's
tight,
nice too,
too.
yes.
thank you for being so responsive.
Great job.
Well, it's because I was late in getting it to you, so I figured I better print it.
But you did get it to me, so it is appreciated.
There's one extra. You ready, one?
Jermaine might be here, but he
Oh, yeah.
doesn't.
We'll leave it here for
Okay,
now.
Okay, thanks.
I'll put it on top of this, I think. Okay, so Andrew, are you ready to go around and do roll call?
Yes, I am. Todd Hunter,
Here.
Bob Bolesnik,
Here.
Amanda Eisman,
Here.
Denise Curia,
Present.
Brian Dunn, here. Vicky Nicewander,
Here.
Andrew Cardinal. Yep. Jermaine Rayner is not present.
He said he's on his way, right?
Oh, he gave me something to give all of you in the Treasury report.
Okay, he told me he would be here before the end of the meeting. So.
Oh, you will? Okay. But currently absent at the moment is Jermaine Rayner.
Right.
Right.
Seems appropriate to congratulate and welcome the 2 new board members. Happy to have you aboard.
Yay!
I would also like to thank Becca Obachowski for ensuring that we do in fact have this place to meet, so we did not have to do any last minute changes. And there was one other thank you, but in the interest of time, I guess we'll move on. Okay, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I got a couple.
Okay.
items.
I think we need a motion and a second, and then we can make changes.
Okay.
Oh,
So if
Okay.
you move out second,
Well, I don't want to move it the way it's listed.
I understand that.
then we, well.
Somebody else can move it.
Okay,
there.
do it how you want, you're the chair.
Does anybody want to move an agenda that is probably going to be changed before we actually approve it?
I will go ahead and move to approve agenda.
Okay,
Yeah, it's fine.
Andy seconds. All right, what are the changes you would like made, Bob?
I don't see anything in there about our current situation with the transmitter.
Okay, where should we put that?
New business, perhaps?
Under-
Has it come up recently? I think old business is only supposed to be stuff we discussed at the last meeting or was brought up.
I am fine with adding that as number 4 to new business, if you would like.
It's for me, just so it's on there.
Yeah,
For
that's fine,
transmitter.
I would like to suggest that we move public comment to the beginning of the meeting so that people don't have to wait through a closed session.
I second that.
Okay, where would you would like it after what, approval of minutes?
After approval of agenda.
Oh, way up there, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we will mark to move public comment from 8 to 3.
Did you have another one, Bob?
Well, I just had a question about this whole closed session thing. I'd prefer to try and keep everything as much as possible in open session.
Well, I would like that too, but unfortunately, and I did want to suggest, it probably should say personnel/financial, but I think the whole board needs to be fully aware of all the options before us, because you specifically said you wanted a resolution that the board wants to keep the building, stay in the building, continue to use the building, and I said I personally agree with that, but I can't speak for the whole board. So I think we need to fill in the board on everything that's being explored so that hopefully we can get your resolution that everybody agrees to stay in the building, but I can't speak for everybody.
Why should that be in closed session? I thought
Because-
closed session was for personnel issues.
Personnel and financial that involve things that we are not at liberty to go public with until the board agrees to them.
If it's just a discussion, if it's not invading somebody's privacy.
It may be, I don't know, I actually have no idea, but does it involve negotiation?
Yes,
that,
and
okay,
I don't have the
outside
information,
people?
so, but if we are going to stay in the building and continue to operate where we are, and I think it needs to be in closed session so that we can move it to open session after we talk about it. I would like to talk about all of it in open session after we talk about it in closed session, but again, I don't know what the status of things is. I need an update myself, and I need reassurance that we can stay where we are. I mean, right now I'm quite confident we can stay where we are, but
It depends on Jermaine, I guess.
he's one of the people, yes.
I mean, that's basically, I'm sorry, that's basically, I mean, what I was gonna ask is, I mean, so specifically, what information are we waiting for, or what specifically are,
Is there a
you know?
negotiation in progress?
Oh, I know, I'm sorry, I know.
I
what
don't know that this is the appropriate place to discuss this in the meeting, but
Well, I'm not being real
No.
specific, I'm just asking if there's a negotiation in progress.
I know I have talked to several people about ways that we can keep the station open without moving or selling the building that are very preferable and attractive to me. I don't know what, I've also heard some bad ideas that I don't like, that I don't think anybody currently supports, but I figure the full board should be allowed to consider even the bad ideas, just so that we know what all our options are.
Well, what I'm asking is if there's actual negotiation in progress.
Just,
Because if there's not a negotiation progress, then there should be no reason to do it in closed session.
okay, well, I don't have all the information, which is why I'm eager to find out as well. Yes.
So what information then might be lacking,
Well,
that we can't discuss
I mean,
openly?
Brian just sent out the bank stuff like an hour ago, so,
My bad.
but that's not your fault. I mean, we're all operating, you know, we've all,
Yeah, it's not your bad, Brian, no.
we are all like waiting for responses to things from a month ago, so I'm not looking to blame anybody, but, I know with the confidentiality thing, I don't want to get in trouble for discussing something that I'm not authorized to. And I mean, as board members, we can all discuss it, but finances are, you know.
Finances are open to the public.
Okay, well,
I
I
think
would feel
Vicky's
in
point
general
is
so, unless it's
that if
confidential.
there is a
I don't get it.
negotiation involved that the public should not be privy to, then that could be closed session.
okay,
But if it's just ideas,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
those should be open discussion.
Okay,
That
well,
anybody could.
I don't want to do this, but I would suggest we put it off till next month, because I'm not at liberty, I don't have the information
Yeah.
myself, so I can't
Well, we
characterize
can
it.
talk about the things that you are privy to.
Okay, well, that would be an incomplete conversation, but we can try it.
So we're basically just waiting on Jermaine at this point, because we have everyone else here, and what else would we?
Jermaine can tell you who we're waiting on, I don't know if there's anybody else or not.
No, I'm saying is, why
Can
can't,
we
it's
start it in
it seems
open
like we can't make a
session?
decision right now because Jermaine's not
Closed
here.
sessions at the essentially middle
Why
of the meeting.
why don't we
so-
move it to the end of the meeting and then,
Or-
Then we would have our missing board member as well.
right. I mean, I've never been treasurer, I know that I shouldn't even discuss what the last treasurer did, because that could get me in trouble.
Okay, I would agree to move it to the
Okay.
end after new business.
Okay, we'll move it to closed session, we'll move to what, 9? 8? 8,
Might be eight.
okay.
But if we have to take action on something in that, would that be moved?
Oh, we
back
can't
to
take
that?
action on anything tonight.
Or make decisions about it. right?
Yeah, we can get an opinion poll.
We always have to come back into open session at the end.
Well, that's what, okay, good, that's
Yeah, you
what I was-
can't
that's
vote
what I
in
was
closed
saying.
session.
Yeah,
Oh, I know that, I was just saying that I was afraid that that would be the very last thing, and there would be nothing after that, no open session after that, and I thought that would be a
Oh,
problem.
God,
you
no,
always
no.
have to
Oh,
come
okay.
back in open
Okay, good.
session and then
Yeah.
adjourn.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have modified the agenda accordingly, there's a lot on it, does everybody like it the way it is?
You said we're
So
moving-
public comment is right after the agenda, and closed session is moved to number 8. Are those the only two changes? Oh,
put
we
the
added
transmitter in
Yes.
there.
transmitter under
New
new
business
business.
number 4.
Okay, number 4. Okay, so I moved. Who moved this?
Andrew.
And
I
Andrew, you
moved-
moved the
And
adjusted agenda.
Andy seconded?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Okay.
Wait. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
You're supposed to do that.
Opposed?
Okay,
Now we're on to public comment.
well, no, now we're on approval of minutes, aren't we? No, we're on public comment, you're right. Okay, public comment, should we go left to right? How do we do this?
Wherever you want.
Okay, why don't we start with Dre? Okay, going this way, why don't we go to Jeff?
Well, I had sent out some of my thoughts earlier today. I think we have a big problem with communication right now. I think a lot of people are really anxious about what's going on at WEF. This little discussion about closed session, I think, is a microcosm of some of the problems of apparent secrets going on, and nobody knows what the discussion is. So I don't feel we had an honest report, or maybe not honest is not the word, a clear report at the associates meeting, at the transition committee meeting, where a lot of stuff should have fallen on the chair and the treasurer. Both were absent. And since then, we've heard nothing. And Jermaine, one of my responsibilities, I took over doing the WEF email, and I've been sending out stuff. I sent a bunch of stuff out to Jermaine, zero answer. I can see that he's accessing the account and activating stuff and doing things like that, but I'm trying to route stuff. So I think if the chair and the treasurer are not willing to communicate with the rest of the station, which is actually part of their responsibility, I think somebody else on the board needs to take that responsibility. Like a small example today, I forwarded out the Cranner thing. And a bunch of people started talking, but like, I am just the forwarder of this information. I cannot make any decisions of who's going to do what, but I think what we saw last week at the transition meeting, a lot of people took on tasks, then we had a big crisis with going off the air, and I think people are doing their tasks, but there were a lot of things that are still not to be done, and that need to be done. And I think, I mean, if I were on the board right now, I would say we scrap most of this agenda. We need to talk about what's our transition plan. Are we going to exist like this for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, and then figure out the business, figure out the stuff? So I'm not on the board, so I'm not making that. But I'm just saying.
You could be. Just say.
So I feel that the communication is sorely lacking. I mean, we're going on a few weeks with no communication. Financial reports are non-existent, and that's been a problem since the previous treasurer. And now, and what we got were very questionable financial reports. And I think my guess is that nobody knows where we really stand. We can look at a bank balance that only tells us what's in the bank. So I think that's a big problem. So those are my main things. I think we can get through this period. I don't think we have to do anything super drastic, but we have to be functional. I mean, we found out at the transition meeting that for some reason the premiums hadn't been sent out from the last draft. So that's, there's an issue we have to deal. We have to get the next drive ready. We have to do some basic functionality. I don't know if there's been any progress on the underwriting or things like that, but these are all the tasks that our staff would do that in theory can be done by the rest of the station, but we have to have leadership and communication. That's all.
Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things. I wasn't at the associates meetings, but I was concerned at that time we had been talking about divesting ourselves of the station building and stuff, and I think that would really be a short-sighted decision. I think if we don't, I think that building is an asset that we have, but if we sell that asset, it will not get us very far in terms of trying to continue to do business in some other form. It will be at the mercy of whoever is the owner of that, then the owner of that building. They get a raise on rent, they get boot us. They'll never reproduce these studios anywhere else for any kind of money. So we gotta trim ship, stay put, and manage through that. So that I think that I was really happy to see that based on what I saw from that meeting that I couldn't attend, that seemed to be the consensus, is that we should stay the course. So that's great. I think communication is also critically important. In my past incarnations in different businesses, business, different professional functions, communication was the critical thing. Inevitably, when we communicated, regardless of how much we communicated, people still thought we weren't communicating. So if you think you're doing enough, it's not enough, because the general population just, their bandwidth isn't there, or their antenna is not pointed at you at the time they was talking. There's just a lot of different ways that people just feel like they're out of the loop, and I think we really are in a situation where the only way we can, so in order to keep the station and the trim ship, we have to, and live within the means that we have, that means the volunteer effort becomes critical path. So in order to maintain critical path on that, we have to keep people engaged in communications, and leadership is a way to do that. I think leadership's very difficult because one person's leadership is another person's dictatorial, you know what I mean? So you can, don't be disheartened by that. You have to take a plan, you have to make a plan, we have to make a plan, we have to stay with it, and we have to be able to just have a rational explanation for why we're doing what we're doing. But we can't make everybody happy all the time, so we should always do that. So communication, I think, is really important. And sort of tie back to I think we do need a plan. I think that's the current top priority. We had the task meeting last week. I think that really was a great thing to do. We got a bunch of action items. There was a flurry of activity by a few people, dead air from many people. So we got all this stuff that's sort of hanging fire there, and I can't tell. I was managing the action item list, but I can't tell where we're at on any of those things. And so I suspect we're probably farther than it looks like, but there really wasn't any feedback to update the list with, so it looks like nothing's happening. And that's a scary prospect, because some of that stuff, bank accounts, the lock on the door, we got done, great job on that. But there's other things like that we have to get, emergency numbers posted on the board. That stuff, we need that stuff to be there, because all we have to do is step in one hole, and it's going to be hell to pay if the wrong thing happens.
Can I get your full name for the minutes?
My name's Fred Segovich, Segovich.
Thank you.
So positive vibes. I think we've got a great asset. Things are tough, but I think, as you had said a few weeks ago about when you proposed a budget, I think if we trim shipments, but that means volunteers have to be back on board. It's difficult. That's about what I have to say.
Thank you, Gina. Did you want to go ahead or wait till reports?
I'll just make a very quick comment now. So I agree, I can't agree more about communication. And I applaud everyone that came to the meeting last week for getting the meeting set up, for getting there, for, volunteering. I couldn't be there, but I appreciate everyone that could. I'm also obviously concerned about finances. I'm also concerned about some of the possible projected budgets that have been sent out, that Jeff had sent out a while back. In that the numbers that you presented, it's not what we make in Pledge Drive. We don't make enough money in Pledge Drive to even support the budgets that we put out there. So, I don't think that those budgets are realistic. We just are not bringing in the kind of money that keeps us afloat the way we're going now. So we need to find, and I'm not a fundraiser, but I can see that, even without paid staff, we'll be lucky to get through, another year and a half or 2 years using every dime we have in the bank. So, I'm willing to do whatever, I can to help. Like I said, I'm not a financial person, I'm not a fundraiser, but I'm here to help. And I hope we all are. I hope we're all invested in keeping WAC well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we did not move board comment to follow public comment, so we now go to approval of minutes. And I believe we have copies of the April-May minutes that have been edited, is that right?
That's correct.
And then we have the unvoted on,
June 6th.
yeah,
So what's the date of the April-May meeting?
it was May
May
9th.
9th.
Okay.
It probably,
That's my
Andrew, it
fault.
probably should say May 9th on it.
That's my fault.
It does on the website.
Okay, so, yeah, Andrew, if you could put in May 9th,
Right.
that would be
Okay.
good. And are those, we don't have to do anything, it's just to see that they're pretty and they've been fixed?
Yes.
Okay.
There were 2 errors. spelling errors, I believe.
Right, Drea's name.
Yes.
Under elections, it says JM steps down as board chair, that's Jermaine Raymer.
Yes, JR.
Sorry.
Not JM.
Thank you.
I have no idea
Good
why I
eye.
put down JM.
Where are we?
Uh,
Page 2 under elections.
Page 2 of the April, May thing,
Oh,
under elections, it says JR, should be JR,
see it, okay, thank you, yep.
minor thing.
Right, but good, former
Good eye.
secretary, aye.
Well, I posted it on the internet, so I made it correct there.
Appreciated. Everything satisfactory on the both open and closed session for April?
So we don't need to re-vote on that, right? Because it had already
It's
been
just to
voted
see
on.
that the
Okay.
changes were made, yes.
Okay.
And then we can continue, if everybody would glance over the June minutes. I already see Denise's name needs to be corrected.
Oh, that's my bad.
Previous has extra letters.
On which,
Oh, if I may, I keep noticing Gina's name having an N instead of a U, and I don't understand where that's coming from.
I think it came from Barb when she originally put my email address in the system, it came out as Linso.
But it's
Instead
USO.
of, it should be LIU.
Just making sure.
I thought I had that one.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
I have a question about the closed session minutes, but I probably can't discuss it in open session.
I guess we can discuss it towards the end and just approve the open minutes for now.
Sure, let's move that down.
Approve the closed session minutes, or at least look at, vote on them afterwards.
Right, let's table the closed session for now.
Do we need to vote on the open session?
Yes,
I move to approve.
I will second. All in favor?
Nice.
Yes.
Nice to do it by acclamation. Okay, are we ready to do reports? Any objections?
Nope.
Okay, our treasurer is not here. I suggest we table that.
Do you want what he sent me?
That would be wonderful. Do you have a copy for everybody?
No.
Then let's wait,
Okay.
because passing your little phone around would be kind of awkward.
I was basically going to read off of it.
I think it's
I
probably,
asked him if he had a printout to send me, he does not.
okay. Yeah, let's table that, so that
If you
is,
want it, email that to me, I can run downstairs and print copies for the board.
It's actually just a bunch of texts I have at the moment.
yeah, probably better.
And that's why I was just going to
I
read
can't
it.
do that.
I do appreciate the offer, though. All right, let's move to standing committees. The executive committee didn't meet, so we can't very well have a report because we haven't been. Okay, programming committee, Gina, I know, has a report because she just passed it around. So, Gina?
Alright, so basically I just boiled down the minutes from the last 3 PC meetings since the board met last. The May 9th minutes are there, just pretty much bulleted everything. We did a couple of new shows in the Courier. We also approved a couple of new shows, one being Lions, my web show. John Parker proposed for the Obscura Zone and we approved that. Chris Hutchinson finally got back to me saying that his work schedule would not allow him to do Metal Mafia, so Metal Mafia doesn't exist and never did. We have discussed open PC seats, and we actually have 2 PC members that don't come to meetings, one board appointed, one associate appointed. At this point, PC, I believe, doesn't really want to do much about it. One of them, the associate one, is going to be at the end of December. His term expires. The other one is a board appointed seat that doesn't expire until October of next year. So we may need to look at doing something with that seat. We talked about Q1 compliance for Spinatron, and that was week 1, 84%, week 2, 82%. And we went over the airship SOP, and implemented most of the suggestions we got from associates, air shifters, board members, whatever. The 23rd, we added a couple more shows to the Courier. We reviewed a draft and voted to mail letters to all the air shifters that were in arrears with their membership dues. We reviewed the final draft of the air shifter SOP for bringing it to the associates meeting the 7th. We went over the open slots again on June 13th. We went over the program slots again. We approved Brian Gilmore's proposal for Ryan's records on the radio, where he's actually spinning on turntables. I made sure that we let Todd Darnell know about that, since he's the show immediately proceeding, so that he wouldn't be blindsided by some guy walking in with a mixer and a couple of turntables. John Parker has not been coming to his show. I've repeatedly emailed him and have received no response. So we'll be discussing that at the PC meeting tomorrow night. And Andrew did tell me he bumped into John, and that John would get in touch with me, but he has not.
And he has not answered my emails either.
Yeah, or my own messages there.
So we'll talk about that at the PC meeting tomorrow, so I'll have a report for you next time. I mailed 14 letters out to air shifters that were in arrears. There were originally 23 since they've been paid. Between the time that Lainey sent her emails and the time I got around to sending letters out, I took care of the postage myself on that. I don't know if those people have actually paid though. I haven't looked at Donor Snap. I don't know if you want me to look at Donor Snap, so I just kind of let that run.
May I interject?
Yeah.
Who here has seen the list of dues, and I don't know who's even responsible for that right now.
I've seen it. I also don't know who's responsible, but I have a copy of it. It's like shared with me on Google Docs. I think is it Mike Feldman's thing? Is he the associate?
That would make sense.
Chair?
I would like to know, I even sent out an email about 2 weeks ago asking who's responsible for the mailing lists and for the membership roster, and I don't think I got a definitive answer for either one.
So we had that discussion at the transition meeting last week,
Okay,
and I am doing the mailing list.
okay.
And Bob is doing the database, Donor Snap, right?
I agreed to take over Donor Snap. Dave Watani agreed to do some database stuff.
Yeah.
I've been working with Brian to a certain extent, because he knows more about Donor Snap than I do right now.
Thank you.
So I have a list of the people I sent letters to, so maybe I can send that to you, Bob, and you can look and see if those people
We
have
can
made a
certainly
recent
look at
donation, to see
in
if they're
Donor
up to date
Snap.
now.
Yeah.
Doesn't that assume somebody's making deposits right now?
I haven't made any deposits, but I have been processing donations.
Okay.
And so they should be in Donor Snap, but we have like a mountain, so I haven't made my way all the way through on that.
The thing about Donor Snap is that there's like a little holding area where when new deposits go in, they just stay there and the people don't go into the actual database.
Brian
We went over that.
Yeah, okay.
did through some of that, and we were working on some people that have had issues with their credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Selby's credit card expiration date had come and gone, and so it quit charging him and stuff. You know?
Oh, okay.
He sent an email to Lainey about a month and a half ago. I forwarded it to somebody, but I don't know who's in charge of anything.
Ryan and I have both talked to Bob Selby.
Well, I forwarded it to Jermaine.
There you go. But that's, I haven't seen, I only know one person that was on Gina's list, and I don't know whether they paid or not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in Donor Snap.
So how about I email Brian and
Yeah.
Bob,
That would be,
just let you know who I sent letters to,
Thank you.
and we can go from there,
Yeah.
okay?
And Gina still has the floor, so.
We had a brief discussion of disciplinary notice.
Right.
At the associates meeting, I asked if anybody had a copy of the PC disciplinary policy, which no one seems to have. Vicki had a copy of the disciplinary notice, but that's a form that you use to enforce the disciplinary policy.
Right.
So I don't know what the disciplinary policy is that I should be enforcing. I know I have a notice that tells me what I'm, that, you, based on this meeting, you haven't fulfilled this and blah, blah, blah. But I still don't know what that policy is, so I don't know how I can enforce it.
On that, why don't we work together, and go upstairs in the archives, and I'll try to dig through and see if I can find at least an old version of it.
Perfect, that works for me.
Excuse me, Andrew.
Thanks.
You're kind of blocking Gina.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So we briefly discussed it at the last PC meeting. We talked about open slots again. Barb resigned, so now we have 3 open slots, 2 board appointed, 1 associate. The Airshipper SOP was approved at the June 7th associates meeting, and I asked Todd to add it to the agenda here tonight because my reading is that the programming committee is a standing committee of the board, and we're supposed to let you guys know what the policy, of any policy changes we think might be appropriate. So that's why I asked for that to be on tonight's agenda. We talked briefly about the June 4th airshipper training, which Britta, Rich, Vicki, and I did. We had 5 people come in. One of them, Ryan, already has a show. There's a couple of others that are going to be getting their second training next week. We had a rediscussion of airshifter training committee openings, but very briefly, we're going to touch on it again this week. We talked about Q2 Spinatron results. As it was reported by Fred, week 1 compliance was 81%, week 2 was 78%. But I bounced that against the op logs and found a bunch of shows that were covered by Zara. So Fred has gone back and changed those numbers. So we're a little bit higher. We're like 84% on week 1 and 88% on week 2.
Oh, so the 82 is wrong here?
81 and 78 are both wrong for the Q2 Spinatron.
I see now.
Okay, they're both greater than that.
Right.
We held a very brief discussion on the May 17th email that was brought up at the associates meeting that was sent by Tom Painter. We were actually going to discuss if the PC would be sending a letter accepting his resignation, and he came in, and he and I had a discussion, and I asked him to leave the station, and then I sent an email to Todd and Jeff and Rachel to let them know what had transpired.
Right.
So our discussion was very truncated because of that, and it kind of interrupted the whole flow of the meeting. And we also went over the how-to binder. And that's it for the last 3 PC meetings.
Okay, I had a question about the last note. I was not aware that, that's awesome, that you had contacted the board chair, so why did the rest of us not hear about it? Because we actually had a discussion, and then I had done a bunch of research looking into what needed to be done if someone needed to be removed from the station and whatnot. And I just been told that it's not an issue anymore, and I asked for a vote, and then it's just not an issue. But I was at no point was I told that, like, this conversation gone on. So basically, as I put in my email, there's several different people that have the right to ask someone to leave, that being Gina being one of them.
Sure.
So I was unaware that actually that step had already been taken, and thus there would be different roles which we needed to do.
Right.
And so thus spent quite a lot of time informing actually everyone on the listserv what the rights were and such.
Right.
But at no point was I told that actually the first step had already been taken, and thus we had a different role. We would have, basically, we don't even need to take a vote at that point. It had already been started, and thus, so basically, what happened with all this?
My thorough understanding is Tom came to do his show with the understanding that he was supposed to do his show. Gina informed him otherwise. He communicated that he never wanted to come to WEFT again, never wanted anything to do with WEFT again. There was some question whether he believed he had property at WEFT. He then wrote me and said he had no interest in anything at WEFT and never wanted to come back. And it sounds like all parties want no contact with each other and the issue is over. If the issue is not over and he wants to come back, then that's different. But everybody's telling me, I'm done with this, I don't want anything to do with you, and it sounds like everybody's just happy never talking to each other again.
But I guess I'm saying, since one of the issues is communication, why was it never communicated to the rest of the board that Gina had actually already taken a first step, and thus there was, this was already being dealt with.
I got like 20 emails in one day, and I was answering them in the order I read them. And I answered everybody I thought thoroughly.
And as I made it clear in my email to the WFDA list, I'm actually the Human Resource Committee, so I should at least also be aware of this type of information.
Right.
Of course,
Maybe
the rest
I
of the board as
apologize,
well.
I didn't
Oh,
copy you.
it's okay, I'm just saying,
I
like,
thought it should
well,
go
that's what I'm
to-
saying, like, okay, that's fine, but like, you know, why am I not at least informed about this? And also, I thought it was important to let the associates know what's going on, and actually, as it stands now, they don't actually know where we stand on this,
And there
because
has
I
been
was
a lot
still
of
waiting to
concern
hear from,
expressed.
yeah, I was waiting, because it just seemed, I don't know, I don't want to leave things where it's just, oh, well, it seems to be okay, but if there's no first step being taken essentially, but there has been.
Right.
Which is great, but like, that's stuff I need to know, and that's something that it would be, the associate should know too, such that it's not just like, there would not be rumors about like, oh, who knows why he left. Okay, there was a step taken, the bylaw that tells you exactly Gina has the right to do so, you know, and like as the head of the programming committee, so like, so give them something definite, something so that they know what's going on. So I'm kind of upset about this, but alright.
The only thing I could add is, it seemed kind of like a game of telephone in that after it seemed like everything was over, one air shifter told me, actually I overheard an air shifter telling another air shifter there had been threats of graphic violence and all sorts of horrible stuff, none of which was ever substantiated, nobody could ever find anything. There was really ugly, awful, misogynist language, which was very troubling. If anybody were still at the station talking like that, I would certainly want something to be done to end it once and for all, but I can't tell that there is currently a live issue at the station.
But you can say that the issue is over and what happened.
Well, that's...
So there was an issue, Gina took action, she communicated to you her action, and then we could share that with the associates and going, that was the steps, and hey.
Okay.
Because I think that would make people be less insecure about what's going on, or have an idea of, even if there's another issue in the future with someone else, what the proper procedures are.
Okay. I was unaware that Gina's handling of the situation was not public knowledge. Sorry. As I said, I answered about 20 emails in one day about it, and I was understanding police involvement, lawsuits, restraining orders, and it was both upsetting and confusing, but it seems like there's not currently...
Well, I feel that when the staff is uncertain and concerned, it is very important to actually just make a very clear statement of the facts, what you know, and then just put that out there. I feel that that really is the job of an officer, which is why I sent out the email that I did, which was my stand on things and my reading of things and the specific roles human resource.
So what would you like done?
Well, actually, not even just should this happen in the future. I think it would be very useful for you just to reiterate essentially this. Gina, okay, so on so-and-so date, Gina had made a ruling. I've already given my email the exact bylaws by which she has the right to do
Forward
so.
this step to WFB would be a start.
Okay.
That as well, but I really am concerned about staff and staff knowing that things are being acted on and their safety is being protected. And also they know what to do and where to go and who has the right to do sort of things or something. So again, it's not just like, we don't know, but things are happening randomly.
Yeah.
I would like to allow Jeff to make another public comment since he has already weighed in on this, and yes, Jeff.
So my understanding, what Gina did from the program committee was let Tom know he was no longer welcome to his show. I think from my reading the bylaws and the SOP, I think this body has the power to say simply, based on recent behavior, we ban volunteer Tom Painter from our building. And you can put a time frame on it. You don't have to put a time frame on it. You can say until further notice. You can pass that. You then can let the station know Tom is banned from the building. If he shows up, you can call the police and say this person has been banned by our board of directors. Right now, it's kind of a he said kind of thing. And I think based on the concerns at the associates meeting and everything that's happened in between, that'd probably be best. I think it's clean and simple. Other people have been banned. It doesn't have to be a lifetime ban or whatever. It can be 12 months, it can be 3 years, it can be whatever. But I from everything that I've heard, and I helped Gina, Rich and I helped Gina draft what was hoping to be an easy easy thing turned out not to be because he showed up. But I think it's in the power of the board to do that. I think that's the cleanest, simplest thing to do, and that can be communicated to everybody.
I would agree. I would think that at this point we can sum it up and we can just say this is what's happening, and then just let people know what they can do, what they have the right to do, what they just give them security and just information directly, even if you feel it's already done and taken care of. But as I think Fred was saying, that like sometimes you can say something over and over, but like not everyone's tuned in or whatever. So I just think just making an official statement, making it very just clear what's going on, make people feel much more secure and just confident.
Could we, Gina?
Sorry, I just want to make one more quick comment. And I think what Jeff has said has a lot of merit, and thanks for backing up, Andy. I think that we definitely need to put something out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but we've lost an air shifter over this.
Yes.
We've lost a very good air
Yes.
shifter over this.
A
Who felt
trainer.
who felt like
Yes.
we as an organization weren't strong enough
Correct.
in our defense of WEF against this kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And so, now so, all right, we've got 2 open hours now that we didn't have before, but we've lost someone who I think was a very valuable part of WEF, who was a very good trainer, who had a really good musicology, and I think it's a darn shame. And I sent him an email directly saying, I respect you, I respect your decision, you do what you have to do, and thank you for being a gentleman.
Denise?
I must say, this isn't the first time that, this has happened with this individual. And I must say that even the first time it happened and nothing was done, I was so upset personally, that I really was almost at the point of quitting the board because nothing was done the first time around, and then the second time, and then look what happened, That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay, let me ask, I see 2 things we can do tonight. We could say, we agree to a ban if he ever comes back, or we can actually go after him and ban him in absentia if people feel that that's really necessary.
Well, as I had already noted, we don't actually, other than you, we've actually already taken a vote. We're still waiting on your vote on that. We do not have to clear that with anyone, and after that we can just immediately say it. As I put with the bylaws, we don't even have to meet in person to have that, and we don't even have to put minutes or notes or anything connected to that. So all it is awaiting whether or not you would like to vote on that matter. Then you can put out a statement of conclusion. I think the staff need to be confident in us and have a conclusion,
Okay.
clear conclusion from the board chair.
Can we issue a statement that, what I don't understand is contacting Tom and say, hey Tom, remember us? We're getting a citation or something
You don't
against
have
you.
to contact. You can just tell the staff, this is what happened. We
Okay.
voted.
Yeah.
He is banned. Done. You don't actually have to.
When you say staff, who are you talking about? Because we don't have staff
Air
at this point.
shifters.
All the air shifters,
Okay.
all the, yes, that
Okay,
is.
so put something out on WEFT O saying Tom is no longer at the station.
Just to
Tom
clarify,
is
yes,
no,
exactly.
Okay.
Just
So-
clarify.
Yes, just to clarify.
Clarify.
Just so people know and they can feel confident again.
Yeah.
Confident in us and then confident in just their workplace.
Okay.
Yes, and comfortable.
So what we
Yes,
just said,
and
Tom,
safe.
Yes.
Tom no longer has a show. Tom no longer is welcome at the station. Tom is, we can ban Tom from the station.
We had voted to ban him, so we are still waiting on your vote. Whether or not we don't know what all of our votes are, but we've actually already made our votes. So that just waits on, I believe, you. So we can resolve that, and then I think,
When
I
did
guess I
this
don't know if it's
vote
supposed to be open or
happen?
The
closed.
executive committee you were referring
I
Yes,
was
yes.
thoroughly confused by that email because I don't think you can take a vote over email.
Yes, you
Let's
can.
just
If
do
you
a
actually
vote
read
right
my
now.
email to
Yeah,
the
that would be
list,
much easier.
you would know that. I
Okay.
made it very clear and I researched it. You can most definitely do so. And I gave you the specific bylaws in which refer it and allow us to do
One
so.
of the votes was, I have no idea what we're voting on, but yes. I'm not confident accepting a vote that says I have no idea what we're voting on, but yes.
We can do a vote right now.
Yeah, we could have a
Yeah,
vote of the full board.
It's actually the executive committee that's allowed to do so. in the context that I was saying. Otherwise, we have to have a special meeting. But given the situation of this specific thing, it is a matter of the executive committee, and we don't have to meet in person, and we don't even have to like report minutes or whatever. It can be done. It's supposed to be. It's us acting as the general manager in that position, and also it should be noted that it should also be put in the statement that Tom does have the right to appeal it, and at that point, then it's to the entire board, which also makes so much sense because that way there'd be people that had not voted on that or not come in, so that would be in a sense unbiased or would be able to fully rule on the matter. So it really is most appropriate for the executive committee to make a final decision on that, and then he can do whatever he needs to do if he wants to.
So, are you wanting the executive committee in the middle of a board meeting to have a vote on this? I mean, I'm just so confused by the timeline of this.
I think, if I'm correct, you're asking Todd just to say he's in favor?
To make a decision, since we are still open, I can't reveal exactly how folks have voted, but I think it would be a pretty easy resolution once he has decided to make his decision on that matter. And I guess I would at this moment say, when we go into closed session, he needs to make up his mind afterwards.
Well, I will go ahead and say I was extremely uncomfortable with the lack of clarity in how nobody seemed to understand that what we were all, there were votes against Tom, but like as a person, not as like a specific status. So it just, it didn't make any particular clear sense as to what nobody was voting on the same thing. It was.
In the email that I sent around,
Yes.
it's actually to change this from text to an official email since you don't do text.
Right.
It's pretty. It was banning from the station. It was pretty clear. So without all that, it's an adverse action taken by us, and that is the specific action to ban him from the station. The show would actually be obviously covered under that, so it's pretty much all encompassing.
All right. Let me ask this, Gina. I've been actually trying to ask this for about 30 minutes. Speaking to the programming committee, do you believe at this point now we need to introduce a formal ban? Because if you would like that, then I will move that.
I think that it's up to the board, and sorry, Todd, I hate to throw it back on you, but the PC has never, since I've been on the PC, we have never been involved in banning anyone.
Right.
Any human resources actions that have not been the result of either some kind of weird programming thing or whatever have always come through the executive committee generally.
Okay, well, if I may respond to that before Andrew, I don't understand the point of banning somebody that has indicated never coming back. It just seems redundant, and it seems like a way to re-involve a person who's no longer involved.
But what Andy said is we don't have to involve Tom.
Yeah,
This is something so that WEP as a community
All right.
knows that someone has done something.
Then what about a
and
reprimand? What about a sanction? What do they call it when somebody gets in trouble in the House of Representatives and they
Censure.
a censure? How about a censure?
No, but that doesn't remove him from the premises.
Yeah.
No, so I guess maybe the more important question is it a majority or does it need to be unanimous that the vote?
Can I go to Jeff again since he clearly has some information
Sure,
here?
because we've already got this resolved if it's not unanimous.
Tom's just got banned from the Iron Post. He's been banned from the Urbana Library. He's used to being banned.
Okay.
There's stuff he should be banned.
Okay.
He did some shit. He should be banned. I think what you're saying applies to like the immediate situation, which is already passed. But right now, I think the whole board can just introduce a resolution that say, Vicky moves that we ban Tom Painter for blah blah blah, and Bob can second it, and everybody can vote on it, and then we can send a letter.
Except you said it has to be the executive committee.
In a specific instance, but acting as general manager, we may terminate staff, which is not just a temporary ban. That is a full ban. So we actually have already, as the executive committee, the right just to permanent ban.
So it's done already, is what you're saying?
Well, we're still waiting. That was why I said actually, if we could just clarify real quick whether or not it's unanimous vote or just a majority vote. Because if you have a majority vote, it's already done.
Mm-hmm.
And then just just Todd can go ahead and draft a statement,
Right,
and whether or not he agrees.
and then we have Denise.
I was just gonna say as vice chair, I mean, if the chair doesn't want to go one way or the other, as the vice chair, can I kind of step in and just say, let's ban this?
If it is important to
SOB
you,
and
clearly
it
it's
really
important.
is. It's so. It really is. Yes. And
Okay.
again, not just for me. It's not just for me. Again, we're doing this for the station.
I'm just worried about, let's have a war with Tom, let's have a war with Sandra, let's have a war with Mick Wolf, let's have a war with everybody we ever had a war with, you know?
We have to protect the staff. We have to make them feel secure and certain. And if you read their emails, you can tell they're not. They're confused, and some of them are just worried. Some of them just don't even know what they're supposed to do. They're thrown into a situation. Should he show up? Which they do.
Okay.
They don't have a stake in this, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. We need to be firm and clear.
Okay, I'm gonna start a speakers list. Andrew, and I think then Gina, and then Bob. Okay, Andrew?
Just to make absolutely certain, if we did go through with the ban, do we have to send him any sort of notification?
No.
Okay, that is my only
Okay,
question
that's
there.
very, very good to know. Gina?
Just very briefly, you know, and I made this statement to somebody that asked me something at the associates meeting. We must create a workplace that is not hostile. Even if we're all volunteers, it's still a workplace, and if we allow the workplace to become a hostile workplace, we, the station, could be in big trouble, and we could be gone like that. All we need is a lawsuit because someone feels unsafe, and that the board didn't do anything about it. That makes us complicit.
Okay, yeah, Bob?
Going back to what Gina was saying, that we lost an air shifter, and that was exactly, well, their issue was that the board had taken no response to it, had seen no action from the board at all. So as leaders, we need to show the associates, air shifters, that we have a stand one way or the other.
And I should add, the resignation came through before I even was notified of the issue. So I got all the email the same night. So I don't know how in the world the board could have acted in time to prevent that, but.
What? I sent you email the night of the meeting, the 13th. The other email didn't come until the Sunday, this past Sunday, or Monday.
Okay, that's not how
So,
I remember it, but.
I mean, I have all the emails
We
here.
discussed, the executive committee started discussing the 19th of June, so it was definitely after this at some point, and I believe that was at least.
And my email went
Well,
to board chair the night that it happened.
It seems
Yeah, well,
like.
that was definitely afterwards.
Right, I know it happened while I was at work. So, okay, it seems there is supermajority consensus to go ahead and do something about this. Could you read me the resolution so it's crystal clear what everybody thinks they're voting on? This is.
We make a new one right now, just ban Tom.
Yeah.
I'd actually be more comfortable with a new one, although then Jermaine couldn't vote because he's still not here.
Did you get through your speakers list?
Yes.
I'm just trying to find the thing I sent to FO.
Didn't you send a separate email out to just the executive board after that?
Yeah.
Because there were some things that went to FB that Vicky and I got.
The one I
or
saw
via
said
text.
The one I
actually.
saw said to terminate him, and just,
But then
Yes.
you sent.
there's
an
nothing to
email.
terminate him from. He's not an associate, he's not a member, he's not anything. He doesn't have a show.
He's banned from the building.
Yeah, that's different. That's not terminate.
That would fall under termination, yes.
Wow.
When you terminate staff, they are no longer allowed in the building, no longer have access to whatever. They are gone and done and not supposed to be on the premises.
Maybe it's semantic. Former staff. We can ban former staff. I'm good with banning former staff if that's what we want to do.
That is fine.
I just wanted to clarify, because I think you were getting a little confused on it. This doesn't mean a restraining order or anything else. This is just Web clearly saying, this could be Joe Blow who walks up the street, who comes on coming in the station, and we ban Joe Blow from the station, and then we let the station know if you see this person, he's been banned, call 911 if you feel uncomfortable and that you shouldn't be here. So it doesn't, there's like no filing of anything that has to be done. It's just like, this is an individual.
That sounds great.
And I think that taking it like the show's gone, he has no reason to be on the station.
That has been posted inside the booth with a picture of him, correct?
Yeah, but the wording on that was a little,
Ambiguous?
yes, because it said, it
Is it-
mentioned getting a restraining order,
Right.
it mentioned
Mhm.
calling 911. And at that point, calling 911 when there's been no board action
Oh,
Good point,
would be,
yeah.
Yeah.
The board has to take action
Yeah,
before you can
first.
file a
Yep.
complaint then with
Okay.
the police or
Yeah,
something.
so
So
we-
if there is an executive committee vote with the wording to ban Tom Painter from the premises, then I vote yes to that. Which I believe would make it unanimous.
Okay,
Are we telling that with all previous votes then?
yeah. So, then we can resolve now for a statement to then go out from the board chair, stating what that is.
So that
look
would
at
not be human resources, that would be board chair?
I can do it. I was thinking that perhaps it would still the most confidence if it came from the board chair. But
Okay, I can do it, when my plane lands.
I feel like Andy, like just the wording coming from Andy would be more informed. You know, Todd seems a little hazy on this. I'm not sure if anybody else is picking that up. So maybe you could draft something. Todd could look it over. If he's cool with it, he could send it out. If you're okay with doing that, I'm sorry to pile more stuff onto you. But I just feel like in terms of you really understand what's happening, so it might be best coming from you.
I don't know if you could use this or not. This was the way I'd worded my vote, just for clarity's sake.
yeah, I noticed that you did.
Yeah, so. Don't know if that would be useful in drafting the motion.
Oh, yes, it was very good, Andrew, I remember how you
I'm
stated.
just wondering if you just
I
want to
kinda,
alter
I
it.
kinda remembered how you stated that, and I
So-
thought it was very good,
Do we
yeah.
want to just use that or, yeah, whatever works, I guess.
Maybe we can send out a joint statement?
Yeah, I figured I'd draft them and then that would be a joint statement.
Okay, excellent. Gina, did you have more from the PC?
Heck no.
Okay.
Thanks for
Can I
your time,
very
everybody.
quickly ask you 3 follow-up questions from 30 minutes ago? I know in the interest of time we need to move on. Number one, I wanted to ask if there was anything the PC needed of the board, and I think we've established that yes, there were some things the PC needed from the board in terms of direction. So if there's anything else, please go ahead and clarify that right now.
As far as this topic goes, no, I don't think so.
Any topic.
Andy said that she and I could look for the disciplinary policy, so we'll work on that.
Okay.
I think the only other thing might be the removal of members that don't come to meetings.
Okay.
There is, the PCSOP says that members should come to 75% of all meetings within a 16-week period, but it doesn't say what to do if they don't.
Have they been notified that their attendance sticks?
I have sent emails asking them what their intentions are and have received no response.
Then I have a directive/favor, Andrew, for new business next meeting. Could you put Gina's request that the board look into delinquent?
It's going into the minutes right now.
Okay, thank you.
The delinquent members were elected by which body?
One by the board, one by the associates.
Okay, so we would have the power to remove the one that was elected by the board.
Correct, and
Is it-
I had, when Jermaine was chair, I had sent him email on this, and he said that he thought, based on Robert's rules, that the associates could follow the board SOP because there was no lower level document that said what we should do.
Now, does the PC refer to not use names or?
The PC members that have been coming to the meetings have actually kind of been wishy-washy about what we should
Well,
do about this period.
If for the next board meeting, which I believe is the 4th Monday in July, if anybody has the date handy, if you could tell us who it is that we need to act on at that time.
Yeah, and I will bring it up at tomorrow night's PC meeting again, so.
Now, I would also ask, the SOP that you would like us to approve tonight, is it clear what has changed on that copy from the previous copy?
Nothing changed since the associates meeting.
Right, but is it clear what changed between the two associates
First
meetings?
draft
Yes.
and what was approved, no, but I do have a strikeout version that I can email you.
Okay, because
I don't have it with me.
I would really like to see that before we vote on it just because I don't like voting on something without knowing what's different.
That's fine.
But I don't want that to go to September like you were afraid of. So then I would request if we could table Airshifter SOP until I get the strike-through copy, just so to my own satisfaction I can look it over and make an informed vote, I would appreciate it, and then make it a high priority for July. And then the final thing, and I don't know if this is programming committee or not, but I discovered over the weekend that I told Brian, the broadcast speakers that are supposed to go off at 10 o'clock, I think on a timer, were broadcasting way past 2 in the morning into the street, and so I turned them off.
So, Bruce set the speakers up.
Yeah.
He's the one that set the timer.
Okay, so I should talk to Bruce about
I
that.
believe that's correct.
When we were off the air, things got messed up.
Oh,
Because
sure,
we
of
weren't
course.
broadcasting, but once we were back on the air, they weren't on during the day, so I think the
It-
timer probably got turned off, it was just that.
Sure.
All right, I would move that if everybody is agreeing, we go to financial development, and I'm not sure if anybody here can speak to that.
I don't think anybody can.
Okay,
Aside from those text messages I got,
community advisory.
Nothing.
Human resources has spoken, but do you have more?
No, actually, I would have talked about
Okay.
that, so that's good.
Great. Nominating committee, the only thing is under old business later, so I recommend that we just do it under old business, if that's okay. Then we have finance, we have no finance to talk about right now. 8, Denise, do you have anything from the transition team?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody who was there. And Fred made up this fantastic spreadsheet type thing. And like Fred said, I mean, we really haven't gotten a whole heck of a lot of feedback. I mean, other than, Jeff, and Vicky, and Bob, basically like the people in this room, and Andrea, and Andrew, and a few other people. As I said, I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of hoping everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, other than who was actually keeping in contact with one another. Again,
Apparently there hasn't been contact from some people who made commitments, right?
Right.
and that's what I was going to say. My next step again, and as I kind of said in the meeting where I'm really old school. I need, I would really like to see on our transition sheet a checklist, like a date where people can come in and say, okay, yeah, I did my thing, check it, date it, whatever, so we actually know and can actually keep track. I mean, of course, I'm old school. I'm sure there's something, a new way we can do this,
Well, we made it,
But,
we made the task, the action list, and there were things that didn't have dates, and we put
Yes.
dates. So the owner should hopefully give us a date. So
Right.
the things that didn't happen, there were a couple of things that got bombed because of the whole transmitter fiasco. But
that
there were a
too,
few
of
people who had
course.
tasks that stuff just went like behind that transmitter work, so. But, yeah, I guess I would like to figure out how we could get people to respond to their actions.
Exactly. So again, right now, we're just kind of, taking people for, their word. And also, I guess yes.
Just 3 quick,
Yeah.
is there a quieter setting on that?
Oh.
Yeah, people just seem like they're getting hot over there.
Yeah, we were.
No, I appreciate it.
Sorry.
I mean, and just basically, lastly is, and I'm kind of the same thought as everybody else. It's just like, what is our plan? Where are we going? Who is paying? Who is paying the bills? I mean, who is taking? Do we have any incoming monies? I mean, who, what, when, where, why? Basically, so I basically kind of have those questions too.
Two things in response. One, do we have any emergencies on here because I'm hearing that certain people are not doing things and I don't know which people. I'm looking over
Well,
it.
you
The
can look
treasurer.
at the last row here,
Uh-huh.
and it says date needed, or,
Right.
and if people haven't committed to dates, then you can be fairly certain that they haven't.
Well, I mean, Lainey and I have already met, so I don't know what need date there is for.
That was like to make sure you got the keys back.
Right,
and,
you have
and
the
all of
last
that
key,
stuff.
and I got the next to last key, so that
So
can be
you
checked
went
off.
over the whole underwrite of that whole transition list?
With
With
Lainey?
her, yeah.
We had the meeting before she left. Is she even still available?
What,
She handed over some stuff to Brian last week, but it was already too late, cause Jermaine had gone to the bank and got a new checkbook and a new debit card.
Yeah.
And,
But we
how
do
about the
have,
underwriting stuff? Did we get that?
I am, well,
There-
still,
You
there
two
honestly
are-
wasn't that much. It doesn't seem like, other than what we had an intern copy everything out of the underwriting binder. Yeah, so I handed over the contracts that I could find in the office and just the information that we had on the binder over to Andrew.
and that's why you sort of, me asking so much questions,
Right,
trying to hunt
right.
down more info.
Okay.
I'd say underwriting is probably one of our biggest tasks, just because, I mean, it's been a mess since I started in
Sure.
August.
I
And
just-
I think that's gonna take like a team probably to figure out. at
Well,
some
and we
point.
had a team volunteer
Yes,
at the
we did.
transition meeting.
Okay.
And I've been in
So-
contact with
Jeff
members
has
of the team.
something.
Jeff, would you like to stop it?
Okay. I've been in contact with members of the team, just trying to clarify who, of our existing people owes us. As a side note, I do seem to have Brad.
Those names listed on there for underwriting.
Underwriting is
Andrew and Andy.
Andrew,
Abby
Johnny
Smith.
Robinson, who I've never even heard of until Andrew told me he
He
was
was
at
at
the
the
meeting.
transition meeting.
And,
He is
Would have met
volunteered
him.
for part of underwriting.
Yes, and I've been trying to say that there were 4 nights proposed for the meeting, and you picked the one night that I said I could be there until 6:45, and it was scheduled at 7 o'clock, and I had a commitment that for a month that I couldn't break.
I didn't schedule
I,
it.
I scheduled it, but again,
Right.
that's
And I-
because I put the word out, and that was like the time that most people could make
Right,
at
and I
that
talked to
time, you know?
Denise and
Yeah.
Brian and Bob and one other person, and they all said that was fine.
Instead of going backwards, going forwards,
Right.
I think there needs to be another meeting between this board meeting and the next board meeting that has the transition committee, which has both the chair and the treasurer at it, as well as the other people involved. Because those were the
Yeah.
biggest holes that we had. There's still a lot of things, I think, that are unanswered. So I think that'd
yeah.
be good to.
Maybe we should set that date tonight.
I think we should.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
And hopefully other people who are not here will be able to make it, but it's really important that the executive committee be
Yeah,
there.
I mean, well, if we put it out, say, you know, 10 days to 2 weeks, hopefully
Midway through. the
midway through, maybe
Can-
that should give
Can
people
we
enough
identify
time.
a date right now
Well,
that
I
is
mean,
good
yeah,
for
I'm
the
just
board members?
saying, well, yeah, I'm saying yes, but if we give them enough
I'm on
a
vacation
time,
in July.
you know,
Right.
then.
Okay, Vicky just said she'll be on vacation.
Well,
We need
not
to
the
do
whole
it.
month.
Okay.
A guy can,
Okay, the
We're
most
gonna be
important
gone
thing
for
is
a
that you and Jermaine can make it. then.
Yes, so please,
So, I guess we now still have to wait for Jermaine to show up before we can ask.
well, I can go ahead and clarify my availability if anybody would like.
That's great.
if it's before the 13th or after the 25th, it's probably before the 13th
The
is where we
meeting-
wanna go.
The next board meeting would be the 24th.
Right, and I am not available until the 10th, so that gives us the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. What days of the week are those?
Monday,
Monday,
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Okay, it needs to be Thursday or Monday.
Should we say the 10th?
Do it on the 10th?
Is
Fine.
there a committee meeting? That's the
No,
second.
digital library is the first and music is the third.
Okay.
I can do the
And
10th
the
or the
programming
13th.
committee is on Tuesdays.
I'll make a motion. I'm not
It's-
sure if this is something we vote on, really.
Sure, I'll
have
second
the-
it though.
Cool.
Yeah,
To make the next meeting of the transitional committee on July 10th.
That
Yes.
works for me.
At
What time works for you?
Anytime from 6 to 9.
Okay.
6:30 or 7?
Seven.
I mean,
7 o'clock.
7
Seven seems to
o'clock.
be-
7
usual
o'clock,
time for
Monday,
meetings.
July 10th.
And again, I mean, like last time, I tried to keep it, or, you know, we tried to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
So we'll say 7 to 8, but it needless to say, if need be, we'll go over, of course.
All right, that sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic as well, because then that, yeah.
And I will apologize for the umpteenth time that there was that 15-minute window between when I could stay until and when you could start, so. Okay, are we at,
Underwriting.
Underwriting. Bob would like 5 minutes minimum for
Could I
underwriting
ask a
and for
question
rents,
about
yes.
these committees first? Who is on the finance committee and who's on the financial development committee?
I
Do we
Have
have
not-
anybody?
I don't think we have anybody on any of them. Jermaine would be on the finance committee, but
Somebody told me that he
The bylaw.
cannot chair that
That's
The
committee.
treasurer
He can't
cannot.
chair it,
The
that's
treasurer
correct.
cannot.
That's
He
correct.
cannot.
Well, financing and communication is the two things we need to focus on the most these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah,
So somebody needs to step up and say they're gonna be on the finance committee.
What does the finance committee do?
I don't know. What's the difference between finance committee and financial
the
development?
finance committee develops the budget,
Ugh.
and the financial development committee works on fundraising.
And because accountancy and economics were the two things that I did not receive good education on in school, I've always stayed away from those as my weak spot because I would be bad on those teams.
Gina?
Finance committee will be responsible for preparing the annual budget, including salary schedules for paid personnel for approval by the board and for evaluation of the audit, to be performed annually by a certified public accountant. Requests for budget amendments throughout the year shall also be reviewed. And then financial development is responsible for developing, proposing to the board, and implementing the annual fundraising plan for the corporation, including establishing annual fundraising goals for general capital grant and restricted purposes such as underwriting. Annual fundraising plan shall be submitted for approval with the annual budget.
This actually does remind me, we have 2 new board members, and I don't think I've had a chance to ask them which committees they'd like to be on. So if there are committees the 2 of you would like to serve on, identify them and we can plug you in.
Not finance.
I was actually going to suggest that I'm most likely moving in several months, but human resources might be a good place.
I think that's a great idea.
We already need someone else on there because we had previously it was Lainey and me, but so it would be nice to have someone else on there
I'd like to
now,
do
and
that.
then it would be nice if.
All right, you're in
I
like
think you'd be a
Flynn.
good candidate. For
I do
that.
too. I second that if I have to say it.
I think it's just by,
Oh,
Volunteer.
well, I second it anyway.
Bob, is
Okay.
there anything that particularly appeals to you?
I guess I'll do the finance stuff.
I second that.
The budget or the financial development?
Well, for now, I'm gonna do the budget.
Okay.
So is that?
Although I wanna put some input in on underwriting, that's why
Right.
it's got my name.
All right, so let's go ahead with the underwriting and grants talks because they're important and time is of the essence. So Bob, what did you want to say for starters?
Well, I was glad to see Andrew and Andy step up at the transition team there to take on some of this underwriting stuff, because it's one of the most important things we
Yes.
got coming
Yes,
up.
it is.
And I was gonna say, which you're already starting on, Andrew, so I give you a lot of credit for hitting the ground running there.
Thank you.
Get that list of who's current underwriting,
And who's
who's
paid up.
paid, and who is in kind
This is
underwriting.
exactly what I'm working on.
And when they expire,
Go Andrew.
and get that done within a couple of weeks so that you can send it out to FB and we can come into the next meeting here and have that information in advance.
In a few days, if I don't have everything complete, you will just have everything I have, and then I'm just going to move on to everything. Quick note, I think I grabbed us a new underwriter, Man Press.
Yeehaw.
So
Adam,
are we
one who was
updating-
at the party? Yes.
They already were once they were there.
I
I
think
think
they're in
basically.
Oh,
kind
they
at
are?
this
Bloody
point,
hell, I don't even
because
have-
we
Yeah, but
print all of our
perhaps
little
it's
postcards.
like-
I think
Yeah,
that they
they
were
do.
he's talking about grabbing another slot, was what I was talking
Oh,
about.
that's cool too.
okay.
So then, great, I
Also,
had no
check out
idea.
Kessler
Yeah, yeah.
Optical. He told me when I was in there for an appointment last time, he says I need to re-up my underwriting at West.
This is
And I told
exactly what I
Lainey,
need.
I told Lainey about it, but she
Yeah.
never got
Don't
to
go
it.
ahead.
What?
Can I,
I understand that we owe Tom here in the building or Dr. Youngerman some kind of underwriting.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That
don't
has
know
been
about
brought
that.
up to Laney a
Yes,
year ago that,
Tom said, hey, he's got, Tom is the building manager here of this building, and there's a lot of vacancies, and he wanted, since West gets free usage of the upstairs, to get underwriting. I set it up with Laney like 3 months ago, and I don't know, apparently it never happened, because I never saw
I
it.
had conversations with Bruce on one of our many trips to the transmitter. He seemed to think that it had been brought up a year ago, that there was gonna be something because our equipment was in the penthouse and they provided us free electricity for 15 years or something like that.
Wow.
So the least we can do is give them some type of
Oh,
underwriting.
Okay. There's one thing I need to note, and that is, Rotational underwriting, I have spoken to a few people and tried to set them straight on this, but I'm not certain I'm getting through, is that some people are skipping part of the rotational underwriting. And I know this comes into PC's realm very quickly. The question is, how do we may need to start enforcing people actually reading them in order. You don't get to skip someone these people have paid to be part of that list.
There was some last week where there were numbers and there was no actually script to read, so I had to skip because there was no script.
Right,
Right,
that's
but
true. And I actually have the sheet that I'm gonna redo and put like a
Okay.
real sheet in the book instead of 1 through 10 and
But I know what you're saying, but
Yes, and I need to rewrite some of these so they don't have calls to action in them.
Correct.
You have access to the spreadsheet on Smartsheet?
You
That
have
has
that
all
in the
the
Dropbox folder, right?
underwriters?
I will double check.
No, it would be Smartsheet. So I
No,
don't,
I
do you
don't.
have everything on Smartsheet?
I,
Because there was a
I got
list of
logins and
underwriters, people
passwords.
who were underwriters, people who have been
I've
contacted.
never seen that one.
How up to
I
date
don't
is
have
this?
access to it
Oh,
anymore.
bloody hell.
I have
there was
access.
one that Lori Coey did that we had in Dropbox
Yeah.
like 2.5, 3 years ago when she reorganized the entire system.
More stuff to get through.
I'm going to want to hang myself when this is all done.
I just, this is a conversation we have a bit more, but I'm just putting out there.
I'll look and see what I can
We
find.
need to
Thank
look
you.
into also nonprofit clubs and organizations, not just organizations, but clubs, because
Right.
I have a possible underwriter, which we found writing game community group. It's non, they're not paying for money, you don't have to vote, but it's
Right.
about just trying to build a community type of thing, it's open to all. But there might be other groups like that out there, so we need to figure
Yes.
out some kind of
Certainly
ruling
do
on
3
that.
PSAs if they're a nonprofit.
There's that, and then also, but they're also possibly willing to underwrite some shows or whatever, but they didn't know the legality, so we can discuss that, but
Right.
we also maybe want to look into that kind of thing, because I don't think we've looked into, basically they're an organization, but like, it's a different type of organization than,
And
you
a
know,
few
like
meetings
a charity,
ago-
basically, it's not a charity, it's just not for profit.
A few meetings ago, we actually went over our underwriting pricing, and this is also something I've been wanting to make sure that this is actually up to date. Part of the open minutes for, was this the April-May meeting? Yes.
I thought we mentioned that on the transition meeting. Didn't that
Does
come
this
up
look
too?
right to you?
I remember
Yeah,
looking
it
at
Okay.
does, it
Yeah.
does.
Then I'm
That
going to
was-
send
that
this to the
was
guy
at
and
board
then
meeting.
want to go.
Okay.
Okay.
I looked up media kit, and I got the numbers from that.
Okay,
All right, they are wanting additional underwriting, which is great, and if we get everything in order, oh my God, so we might actually get through it.
Woo-hoo!
Do you want me to send you the stuff that Lori and Lori worked on like 2-3 years ago?
Yes, please,
Because
yeah.
I've got it all still.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
I mean, it's old information, it's before the rotational stuff.
I'd like to see underwriting and grants be a standard part of every board meeting.
Oh,
Agreed.
That we bring it up at
I
least to
second
spend 5
that.
minutes at each
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah,
because it's key to us right
It
now.
might be a
to
little more
increase
than
our-
5 minutes.
Yes.
Right, but I just don't want us to talk about it tonight and then forget it in July,
Right.
and forget
Well,
it in
Bob,
August.
if
Oh,
it
I won't
helps,
be
I'm
forgetting
trying
it.
to do the agenda based on take the previous agenda and modify it, so if it's on here, I would have to deliberately take it off for it not to be on the next one. So it should be good until somebody gives me a good reason not to have it there.
I will take responsibility under grants to figure out what grants, I mean, I know we've got Community Foundation, we've got the Urbana Arts Council, we've got all these different things in town, just to get a list of what their criteria are and when their time frame
I think that would be wonderful.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Urbana Arts Grants is like January or something, is the end of.
Yeah,
the
that's,
time.
I mean,
But
as a starting point, we
to be
just need to
prepared to
know.
have something ready to go for them when next
Yeah.
December, January rolls around, right?
Is there more for grants?
CPB is definitely out, right? For
Yeah,
all time.
Yeah.
kind of.
unless we can bring in $300,000 in non-federal money.
Well, and the important
Yeah.
thing there is, they said by the time we would qualify again, they will be out of the business of funding that. So even if we did qualify by the standards that they criticized us for not conforming to, it will be too late to re-qualify.
And the Illinois Arts Council, we
Illinois
had,
Arts Council is one that I don't think we've applied for at least a year, and we had applied the year before, but we never got a check because there is no state budget,
Yeah.
and there still is no state budget. So who knows, maybe if they approve a state budget, then we'll get a belated check, but my guess is probably not.
Right.
Do you remember how much that was for?
Well, you know, you put your application in and they kind of decide what they're gonna give you.
Right.
It has been roughly $5,000.
I think it was like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
That's where it varied.
I
I
think
think
one
Lori-
year there was $12,000 or something like that, but that
I
was
think
a
Lori-
while
Lori
ago.
said we were gonna get, we were gonna get 3,000, what they said, but then they cut everything off, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, it was, well, it was the state budget.
Well, yeah,
That was the
yeah,
issue,
so-
yeah.
That was the last one I think we were granted, was like 3 or 3.
And with Bronner and Howard, you know, the Illinois Arts Council may be going away.
Great. Where are we on now?
Next is the old business / nominating committee. So if we are able to go on, you have this nice thing here. This is what I've been emailing about since mid-April. I said I didn't want this to get delayed. Obviously, wishes are nice things to have. I sent out the letter, I got no feedback, I sent out the letter again, Jermaine gave me feedback, that's not to criticize anybody else. Lainey and I were supposed to work on it. Finally, we decided that because we didn't have the money to do 2 mailings, we would post it to a mailing list, but it then occurred to me that it wouldn't reach most of the people it was supposed to if we just posted it to Webdo. Bill Saylor very kindly stepped up and said he would work with me on it. We were hopeful we could still get in June. We had some computer compatibility problems, but for your perusal tonight, Bill and I have taken previous letters, we've updated them. There is a draft here. The only thing really missing from the draft is in 2 places it says to please email about certain things, and if we are to do this in a timely manner, this would be the week that I'm out of town. So I feel uncomfortable making myself the contact the week that I'm not going to be available, but obviously time is of the essence. I think Bill would like to do a mailing, like a folding and so on and so forth, ASAP, and it's supposed to happen in June, so obviously we're kind of up against a wall. I guess the good news is it's not as if people have been clamoring, asking that they, want to, we're lucky we have 2 new officers, but we don't want to do anything to tamp down enthusiasm for additional board members, so if you could look over the letter and that would be
We
great.
actually have 4 empty member elected seats, not 2.
Okay, then that needs to be fixed.
2 of them would be 1-year terms and 2 of them are 2-year.
Then that is an important fix to make. Where is
Yes.
that?
The very first, the second sentence.
Okay, and they can all be done this year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, you would be filling the 2 1-year terms are the ones that were not filled
got it.
last year.
I know on the, was it Brian that of the board knows membership status or has access to that information? Is it Bob and Brian? Because pretty much I was going to say it probably should be their email, since they're the only ones that have access.
I think it's
to
just
this.
me.
Okay.
Well, but it's not email, it's gotta go out by snail mail.
No. It says, if you have any questions about your membership
Oh, got
status,
it, got
please
it.
email.
That's
And so since
perfect,
the rest of us don't
perfect.
have access to it, so should we put then your
Yeah, you
email?
put my email.
Okay, Brian's email for the first
Do you
TBD,
know that sheet that I'm talking about, Gina? It's like the associate sheet, you ever get that shared?
and then the second one is questions about the process, which probably should still be me, but it's like the one week that
Go
I,
to Denise, and as vice chair,
Denise, are you comfortable fielding that?
or, I guess you could also send it
Yeah,
to
I think I'm on
me,
it, so
since I'm HR, but.
that's what I'm thinking.
What exactly are we?
If we have candidates, they would write and let you know that they're interested.
Sure.
Okay, Brian for the first one, Denise for the second one. Obviously, feel free to copy me on all of that, and I will get it when I come back.
And this letter is going out, what, this week?
Well,
With the
ASAP.
deadline of July 10th?
ASAP.
And who does it go to?
It's supposed to go to the members
It's
list.
supposed to go to members, which would come from donors now.
So
Yeah.
yeah, to get the mailing out, and just to make sure I know what needs to be done, we're gonna need to get all the addresses of all the current members who are up to date on everything. We're gonna need to get that into the form of mailing labels that we can print out into mailing labels.
Yeah,
And then we're gonna have to stuff envelopes,
Yeah.
label envelopes.
so these dates may have to be modified again.
Current, they just need to have paid $40 within the last calendar year.
And we should be at a point in
The
the
dates are
year
specified,
where it's going to be a little bit more accurate, because when the membership, I think I told you this, when the membership list got transferred from FileMaker Pro to DonorSnap, they all went in on February 6th of 2015 as currently paid on that day. So, or 2/15,
From what I
so,
looked at, some of that has been updated.
okay, good,
Yeah.
Some of it goes back to 2006 and stuff.
yeah, good,
In DonorSnap.
good, so I
So
would,
does
I
it
would
go
say
to
if
just
it,
individuals, or does it go to businesses?
it only goes to individuals, I think.
Yes, not businesses. Because businesses, corporations cannot run for the web board.
And there should be no more than, what, 500 members?
Couple hundred when I was trying to look through that the other day.
Yeah, because when I went through it one time, I got like 3,000 come up as current members, so it
Wow.
was screwed up in a big
Over
way.
4,000 in there now.
Yeah,
Bill wrote me,
Searching on just who's paid $40 or more
in the last year.
Yeah.
Bill wrote me immediately before the meeting wanting the URL in the masthead struck, except that I had no way to edit an image. So,
Why,
because it's the old website and not,
Well,
we use the new
FM.org.
logo?
Yeah.
we can do that.
Just use the new logo, then you don't have to
Right.
deal with it.
I was not able to change the logo in the 5 minutes before the meeting.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't have to change the logo, you just put the new one in.
Right. Yeah.
Will you let Bill know that I have access to a folding machine?
Folding
We
machine,
don't have to have people sitting at the station
Woohoo!
folding.
that would be amazing.
If you could get me the printout, I can't bring the machine to web, but I can bring the documents to where I have access to a machine and get them all folded.
And I will I was going to volunteer that if the day of the mailing were when I'm in town, I would be happy to do, to head this up, but, if time is of the essence, I don't want to delay it any further than it already
Who
is.
should I email the new logo to?
Bill and me, please.
Okay,
Certainly between the two of us, we can address that.
okay.
Okay, anything?
If you grammatical things, then it's fine.
So if
Let
everybody's
it out.
okay with it, I will at
Just
least,
commas.
and I would also like to thank Bill for saying not to worry about the financial, because we were trying to figure out how we could do this when we can't afford to do it, but he says don't worry about it, so,
That's wonderful.
yes. So, okay, I think we're ready to go to, new business. We tabled one, I move that we table board SOP because we don't even have all the, executive committee here, and there's not really any discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, tabled, meeting location, once again, thank you to, Becca for making sure now I have a key as well, and she confirmed that we have this room indefinitely, the fourth Monday of the month. So we have it as an option, we don't have to worry about whether we can get in or not, and normally I should not having to print copies at 7:01 on a Monday night.
She did ask that we be sure to turn off the air
Yes.
conditioner and the lights
Yes.
when we leave.
She did, and that was, but she was wonderful to deal with today, very reassuring. I was told that there were some texts expressing concern about the accessibility of this location. I'm not sure how many people are happy, angry, if a majority of board members are furious that we have this free meeting room, we can explore alternatives.
The discussion that's been so far has just been about, since it does lots, we always have something
Right.
down there. I brought that up before, but then it had been brought up, that there's already something going on at WEF.
Right.
So we can't actually have it at WEF if we wanted to, because that would make no sense.
Right.
Unless
So
we
that's-
change to a different day.
Yes, and so then we had,
We
at
could
that
make
point,
it earlier.
at that point, we had a discussion about like where else we could hold
We
it.
could.
We also have internet access, and it kind of kept falling back to, as I was telling the new folk, came back to, well, this seems pretty good. We do seem to have this room reliably. So I guess, I think one of the neuro folks had mentioned like, kind of the same thing when I got on here, like,
Right.
but why isn't it a web?
Yeah.
Kind of, I think that's the same thing. So I don't think there's anyone like furious about something.
No.
Okay.
We're just concerned and wondering like, what if someone wanted to show, basically, a WFD wanted to show up and it's 7:10 or something and they're running late, right? There's no one down there stairs to let them in.
So I have a proposal. I think it would be good when we advertise the meeting to have, say, a number to call or something, so
I
that
agree.
anybody who is locked out has a way to come on up, because
I agree.
That'd be
I like
nice.
everything about this room except the idea that people who show up for the meeting might not be able to get in, and as
Yes.
long as we can remedy that, we seem to have a good relationship, and if we don't have to pay for it,
Yeah, and there's an elevator for
it's
anyone
near
that
web,
also
so
has
people can go, you
mobility.
know.
We used
Yeah.
to just put a sign up on the door that says, call this number.
I think that's fantastic.
The way the door opens today, you pull both doors, you
Okay,
Did she give you a front door key?
yes,
So, what you can do, you know the way it is, I can never get it right, but you can unlock the door and leave the door unlocked.
we just
Like
have
the
to lock it
interior
back.
door.
Make sure,
perhaps.
well, you can unlock both of them. Just, you gotta make sure to lock it, because then the building manager will be pissed if somebody comes later and
Right.
they're open.
Right.
But see, when the comic book shop used to be open,
Right.
it was easier, but now he locks the building at like
Right.
5:30.
Right.
But you can unlock it, and even run down at 7:30 and go back and lock it. I mean, that's just a suggestion, you know, besides putting up the setup. Because for healthcare consumers, when we have meetings, we're not gonna let Tom boss it around if we can't have meetings in our office at night
Right.
and have the door locked, so we unlock it.
Well, since we've had all
We'll
this,
just lock it later.
since we've had all the talk about communication and accessibility, I thought if this were a problem, I wanted to nip it in the
Thank you.
bud.
No, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
But I only find out these things after the fact,
It's with
and,
the same key.
okay. So, let's see, we've taken care of that. I think all that leaves would be,
Transmitter.
what?
Transmitter.
Oh, yes, transmitter, thank you. What's the status of the transmitter?
We're at 50% power.
Which is better than zero.
Yeah,
It's
We
So
lost-
what
we
needs
lost
to-
another power supply.
I thought I read that.
We're down to 2.
So we're
We
gonna
got
have
2
to,
bad ones in there.
replace both of them.
We should,
What cost are we looking at for the combined?
I think, each about $2,000 each.
Okay,
That's after we send back the bad one to them. They originally charged us about $4,000 a piece.
right, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we're a radio station.
Yeah.
That if the money goes to anything, it's gotta go to the power supplies.
And
I can tell the difference myself
I
as you
can
go to
too.
Urbana, as you drive
Oh,
around
gosh,
town, it kinda
yes.
fades out a little bit.
And I would just add, as I've told Bob, there was briefly exploration of, all conversation has more or less confirmed that nobody benefits from doing anything with the frequency except keeping it. Nobody should worry about us giving up the frequency. We want to remain a terrestrial radio station. I mean, if anybody here does not want to remain a terrestrial radio station and has any good reason why, I'd be interested to hear it, but I have not heard any advantage or reason or rationale.
I would like to move that we approve the expenditure of $4,000 to, well, is that the way we do it? Or do I ask for approval of $8,000? With the refund to be given when the bad transmitters
Well,
or
the
bad
last
power
time,
supplies.
we did this, Bruce actually ordered the
Mm-hmm.
power supply, so they ding his credit card,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't charge the full amount, cause
Until
they
the other
figure
stuff
that you're
is,
gonna get that one back to them, so.
okay.
I don't know how credit card companies do that, but, hotels, rental cars, they do that, where they kind of put a hold on your card
As a
for an amount above what.
As a point of information, I would say obviously this is going to have to come out of savings because we do not have that much money, but it is an immediate priority, a first priority, and as long as people understand that we will have to take it out of savings, then I would agree that we should do this.
All right, real quick.
Maybe just say $5,000.
just
I
to be
think
sure and cover
The
it.
price that Bruce had, this is a year-old price, was $17.85 plus shipping plus tax.
I would
Yeah.
propose we phrase it up to $5,000, and that way
Yep.
we can revisit, but.
Because the way this may
Yeah.
work, Bruce may put one on his credit card, I may put one on my credit card or something, I
Right.
don't
And
know.
we just
Okay,
talk
I
you
make that
afterwards?
motion.
And then,
I
yeah,
second it.
then you guys
Okay.
write us a check.
Okay, so Vicky made the motion and Denise seconded.
Yeah.
And you look confused.
I'm just writing it all down.
Okay,
I just want some dollar amounts in there.
can we do this
Okay.
by acclamation? Everybody agree?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okey doke. All right, so we've taken care of that.
That was of up to 5,000,
Yes,
correct?
Up to
correct,
5,000.
correct.
Okay, I believe the only things left are we have the closed session minutes that I wanted to ask about in closed session, even though it doesn't really seem important enough to go into closed session, I think we have to. And my proposal for I mean, obviously with Jermaine here, we're limited, with Jermaine not here, we're limited in what we can talk about. There is one meeting that I wanted to discuss with everybody, and what I would propose is, I think if I tell everybody, we can agree unanimously, can we tell all of the public what we just talked about? But I don't know that I can initially tell you in an open session, but I would like to repeat everything from the closed session in open session with your permission. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
Okay, so we need to go into closed session for the minutes anyway.
Alright,
Yes.
I have one item before we go
Yes,
into closed
please.
session.
By all means.
What can the board do to get our pledge premiums out from the last
That is a
pledge
good
drive?
question.
We,
Anything we can do to expedite that?
Yes.
actually, I think, if I could borrow this back for a second, Brian and I were working on that. He was gonna get the shirt design to me, and I was gonna contact, Wisecam and get those shirts made. Everything else we have. So once we get that shirt order
He
done,
needs the design, then you need the sizes and the
he's
number
got
of
that on a
sizes.
spreadsheet,
I
so.
got that, I totally didn't send it to you, but I can put it to you.
That's okay, I was out of town all last week
While
anyway.
you guys are discussing that, would anybody like me to call Jermaine and find out if he's like outside? Because I understood he was coming and it's kind of irritating, but his train probably got held up or
He's got
something.
the ability to text almost everybody.
Okay.
yeah,
that's
I've
good.
actually been
Yeah.
checking, yes,
Yeah, he would've-
email.
Okay.
I've been watching my phone just for something like
Okay.
that.
Just wanted to offer.
Okay, so,
Yeah, you can have that copy, I can print
Thank
any
you.
of them.
stop your recording.
Okay. All right, so motion to go into closed session for the minutes and the other thing.
Put it forward or second it?
Okay.
Next.
Any seconds?
Yeah.
Who made the first motion?
I did.
Okay.
And if everybody could just step outside, we'll bring you back in ASAP. You don't have to
So
wait,
there's
but
gonna be more to discuss in the
You have
open?
to come
Yep.
back
Got it,
in open
open.
session.
Yeah.
No, but there will be.
Yes,
Come
there'll
back.
be more to
that's the
discuss.
plan.
I guess, I have no
So,
idea. what
don't
this is
touch
about.
that dial.
Yes.
You can take a chair with you.